What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Dumpster Talk episode. Today we have some very special guests. We have Evan and Abby with MANTEC and the Young Manufacturers Network.
Sweet. Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate this.
Absolutely.
Sorry, we don't have Alex today. He is sick, so we're praying for you. Hope you get better, you and your family. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I was looking forward to this one because obviously we're around each other a lot. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
kind of a MANTEC employee at this point, or YMN.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you definitely are.
But this is awesome. So yeah, we usually start off the podcast by just kind of getting to know you guys before you got into your professional careers. So we can start with Evan, kind of a little background on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I graduated from Millersville back in 2012 with a business degree, concentration in marketing. Kind of thought that that's what I was going to end up doing. Ended up doing a little bit of traveling, decided that traveling was actually where my passion lied. So I took a job selling capital equipment overseas for a boutique manufacturer in Carlisle. So I sold overseas, China, Taiwan, Japan, some of Europe, for about 5 years doing that travel. And I decided that was, while I love the travel, spending 13 hours plus on a plane and then more time in a taxi and a train just wasn't the right fit for me at the time and my wife. So decided to open up my own business. I opened up a rock climbing gym and did that for about 3 years because I'm an avid rock climber. That's kind of where my outside of work passion lies. So I did that for about 3 years, and then something called COVID came around.
I've heard of it. I think.
Some people had some experiences with it, and I had my own. So we decided that I'd move away from the gym after COVID because surprisingly people don't like to touch stuff on walls during a pandemic. So which is okay because it opened the door for me to kind of make my way back into manufacturing, and that's kind of where finding MANTEC through not necessarily wanting to get back into a sales role within a manufacturer, but definitely wanted to help manufacturers. So found my way into MANTEC, and it's been my home ever since.
Perfect. How many years have you been at MANTEC? I don't know.
Yeah, almost about 4 years now.
4 years. Congrats.
Dang.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. What about you, Abby?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of have a funky path to the manufacturing industry. I really wanted nothing to do with it when I first started out. My dad has a small company, some side manufacturing, mostly a testing laboratory here in New York, and did not want to do what my dad did at all. I was like, Dad, what you do is boring. No, thank you. Started studying education at York College and then quickly transitioned to business once COVID hit. COVID changed for you, it changed for me too. Ended up studying business and then kind of stumbled into the industry, had done a couple internships, but then came back from a semester abroad, had no money, no internship for my last semester of school, and no job prospects for after graduation. So I was freaking out a little bit and I was like, Dad, what do I do? And he was like, you could come work for me. There you go. Money, internship, boom. And I was like, ugh, okay. And like struggled through the first couple weeks. But then as I got comfortable with what I was doing, realized I really loved technical sales. I loved the industry. I loved getting to see how things were made and how things work together and the maintenance side of things. And just really, really fell in love with it. And so when the position at MANTEC opened up right when I was graduating from York, it was really just a perfect fit. So graduated from York in June of 2020, or May of 2023, started at MANTEC in June of 2023, and I've been here ever since.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been fun.
How was it working I know that wasn't the plan, but how was it kind of going back and working for your family business?
Yeah, I mean, it was really impactful. I learned a lot during those. It was only like 4 or 5 months. I mean, I worked for him like a couple like here and there, right, helping with process stuff. But when I went back and like full-time worked for him, it was really impactful because I got to really learn just how much of like this business was like my dad's brainchild. Like he knows the ins and outs of grease analysis, which like what the heck is that, right? Like you don't even think about grease analysis, but I really got to see like the day-to-day and how much of an impact he's making in the maintenance industry all over the world. So it was really great to learn a lot more about what my dad does and learn a lot from him for sure. That's
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So how did you guys exactly find out about MANTEC or get kind of there?
Yeah. So just Indeed, really, it was that simple for me, at least, because it was one of those, looking for consulting roles or advisory roles within manufacturing. You try all your standard things, LinkedIn, Indeed, Monster, all the places. And MANTEC had a really good, which Kent Keller, one of our colleagues who handles our workforce development for us, he wrote the description based on information from one of our other colleagues, and he did such a great job at it. And that's just writing kind of what the role is and really explaining how we could help manufacturers. And I think that's what drew me to kind of apply for that role.
That's awesome. What about you, Abby?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, LinkedIn was definitely where I found it too. And I remember when I was applying to jobs, I hadn't graduated yet, and I was asking my dad so many questions because I was working with him at the time. And I was like, Dad, what do you know about this like MANTEC company? He's like, oh, I've used them before. I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, no, they're really great. They actually helped us with a lot of stuff. And we actually, like, while I was applying and learning about MANTEC, ended up on a call with Scott Reichert with my dad talking about how to get an ISO certification. It was very funny. Now that's like conversations that I have with clients is, how do I get ISO? It's like, oh, come talk to us. We'll help you. But yeah, really had no experience with MANTEC. And then turns out my dad was really integrated with them, had used them before. And so when I applied and interviewed and got the job, I was like, dang, this is so exciting. Now I get to help manufacturers all over South Central PA. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a full circle moment.
Absolutely. Yes.
We definitely love those. So what exactly is MANTEC? I know there's a lot of organizations that kind of do the same thing as you guys. Like, we're a member of the Manufacturers Association. So what is MANTEC, and what kind of sets you guys apart, or what are the differences that you guys have to offer?
Yeah. So MANTEC, we are a fully funded resource center for manufacturers in South Central Pennsylvania. So what that means is we help manufacturers grow their business through various different things. So we kind of split our business, MANTEC, into 4 key pillars. The first one is workforce engagement that I just kind of mentioned, which is that recruitment and retention, that really important part of bringing your employees to your work and then keeping them happy and keeping them there. Process improvement, which is kind of what we're known the most for in South Central Pennsylvania. That's your Lean, your Six Sigma, anything to improve the efficiency of your plant, eliminating waste, things like that. Then you have manufacturing technology, so that's all of your robots, your CMMC, so that's cybersecurity stuff, keeping your manufacturing secure from any sort of internet threats, digital threats, and then also sales and marketing, which is kind of what I head up. So that's all your sales projects, sales strategies, things like that, as well as any marketing things that we do. So digital websites, we do digital ads, PPC, things like that as well. So we kind of run the gambit of all the different services that a manufacturer would need. And how we help is we come sit at their side of the table, really talk them through kind of where their business is at currently, and then we try to help them identify, if they don't already have identified, where they could grow, what their needs might be. And we do that as part of our mission that we're funded to do. And we're part of a larger network, so it's called the MEP, or Manufacturing Extension Partnership. So there's 60 plus centers across the entire United States, 1 in each state. Pennsylvania is unique. We have 7, so we're one of 7 in Pennsylvania. But that's kind of because we started the whole thing. We could talk about the IRC network too if you want. But it's kind of the predecessor to MEP and kind of the national network that assists manufacturers. So, but to boil it all down, we are here to help manufacturers grow. That's kind of our number one goal. What makes us a little bit different than Manufacturers Association is Manufacturers Association, they focus on apprenticeships and they focus on working on the employees in their business. We help the leaders of organizations and those people in the office kind of help the business grow, work on the business, not necessarily in the business. So I didn't leave anything out there, Abby?
I don't think so. I mean, that's pretty much it. We also do a lot of like educational programming too. So, it's important to help our current businesses, but what's going to happen when we don't have a workforce to fill the roles, right? So getting, we have K through 16 programming, so getting elementary kids excited. We have our middle school What's So Cool About Manufacturing program. They create this like 2-minute video. There's a whole competition to show like, hey, this is how cool manufacturing is, right? They get to go into facilities and interview. It's really awesome. In high school, we have our MFGU program, Manufacturing U, and that's just a 2-week summer camp program for students to get excited about careers in manufacturing. So another one of those educational programs. We're working on some micro internships with colleges and mentoring opportunities and that kind of thing. And then we also started the Young Manufacturers Network for those early in their careers as well. So we're trying to hit everybody from K through when you retire, right? Where we've got resources for just about everybody here at MANTEC.
Yeah, that's awesome. What would you guys say? Like, say I was a company, kind of a manufacturing company, and wanted to work with you guys. What's kind of that path that they can kind of take to get in with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of funny that we're both here because my role is like the precursor to what Evan does. So I'm one of our business solution specialists. And normally if someone's interested in getting involved, or, you come up with a challenge, or you have an opportunity and you're like, hey, we want to enter a new market, or hey, we want to get our ISO certification, or hey, we keep wasting time, money, energy, efficiency, people here, and we don't know where it's going and we don't know how to hold on to that. Give us a call. Set up a conversation with me, Andrew, Linda. We're all of the outreach team at MANTEC, and we'll have that first conversation to kind of get to that root cause of like, hey, what is actually the problem that we're facing? And then once we kind of boil that down, we'll bring in an Evan or one of our other advisors in our 4 key areas. And then we'll have a second conversation of kind of really getting down to the nitty gritty and figuring out, hey, like, what's our next step here? How do we grow? Maybe we bring in a third party, maybe we do it ourselves, but how do we find the right solution for the right problem using the right provider? That's really what we're here to do. So
That's awesome. What is the importance of like the learning aspect of things, like especially for the young people? Like you said, you're working through K through when you retire. So how important is that learning piece?
absolutely. Oh my gosh, I think it's huge. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like when I was in like elementary, middle, even high school, even college, I had no idea what manufacturing was. Like, I knew it was like, you make stuff, right? But like, there's so many career tracks, so many opportunities. And so like, when you start to get kids thinking about what does a career look like, it's not necessarily just like pushing a button on a machine or throwing a weld bead. Yeah, like that is true. Those are some of those roles, right, in manufacturing. But it's also, doing sales, working in HR, right? Like eventually working your way up to a leadership position. So it's highlighting those careers to fill the workforce gaps that we see currently and will see soon, as a sort of silver tsunami kind of happens, leaving lots of roles unfilled. It's important to get kids excited early so that they're looking forward to something and they can set themselves up for success in their educational journey. So.
Right.
For sure. Yeah, I love what you guys are doing. We were just talking about it before the podcast, like networking events. Like, I think it would be great for kids at a younger age. Like, I was at my first networking event when I was like 18 or 19, and it was terrifying. But I'm 22 now, and it's a lot better. So I can only imagine if you start even earlier and kind of get that experience and learn at the networking events, it's very, very good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, part of our team is actually working on another program that is going to be bringing kids to essentially network with manufacturers at a larger kind of venue and going, place to place to learn about, the different roles that you can. Abby mentioned all the different roles outside of just working in the shop floor. But there's so many different things within manufacturing, and when we go and talk at schools, I think that's the number one thing that we try to push to the kids is that it's not dirty, it's not grimy. I mean, sure, you can find roles that are like that, but if you wanted to work on, CAD design, if somebody who's artistic and likes to draw, I mean, you can do CAD design for a living and still get out that artistic urge. So there's just so many things you can do with manufacturing.
For sure, and I feel like a lot of people think that you can't have a good living in manufacturing. But we were at an event, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they said the average salary in our area is $80,000.
Yep.
And I never knew that in high school, or like I found that out when I'm 22.
Right.
But that's just crazy. And like you guys said, the silver tsunami, like there's going to be a lot of people retiring, and that knowledge is kind of going to go with them. So getting the young people in and kind of picking up on that knowledge is definitely a great thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, let's get into how did you guys start the Young Manufacturers Network?
Yeah.
How did you guys
honestly,
kind of get into that?
I feel like that silver tsunami conversation is kind of like a perfect segue too. No, but with YMN, so this was something I was probably like 8 months into my time at MANTEC, not even, probably like 6 months in. And I was like, I need something for young people. Like something needs to happen. Because I was at a networking event, and it happened, obviously we keep talking about networking events, so I was at a networking event, and my age always comes up. I'm 20, I was 22 when I started, I'm 23, 22 when I started, and I was at a women in manufacturing event, and once again, my age came up, and I was talking with someone, and she was like, Abby, she'd started her career like on the line, like, just on the floor employee. And she's like, Abby, when I first started out in my career, when I was in my early 20s, I didn't have anything like WIM. I didn't have a networking event. I didn't have anywhere to go to see other young people like me working in this industry. And I was like, shoot. She's like, if I would have had that, my career track to success would have looked a lot differently and probably would have came a lot sooner. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that is a problem personally, because there's so many young people who I think have maybe a gap that they don't realize, right? And so if we can create a space for them to network, to connect, to grow, that's exciting for me. And so I pitched the idea to our coworker, Andrew. He loved it, said, hey, let's pitch it to Bruce, our boss. We pitched to Bruce. Bruce said, run. And so that conversation happened in late November, early December. We had our first sort of like focus group, I would call it, in February. Launched membership in April of 2024, and since we have grown up over 65 members strong. Not even a full year in yet. So
that's awesome. That says a lot about your drive and also MANTEC as an organization, because like you said, 6 months in, I don't think a lot of new employees would have the, I guess courage is the word, to kind of bring up a new idea. Yep. And the fact that they loved it and ran with it, especially with you not even being there a year yet, is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, MANTEC's dedication is to improvement. Yep. And so that doesn't just mean for the clients we're working with, but it also means for us as, like, the team members, too. And Bruce saw an idea to improve, you know, me as a young professional, right? Like, this is a great opportunity for me to lead teams, for Evan and Andrew to lead. But it's also an opportunity for us to help improve young people across the board in this industry. And I mean, like we mentioned, Silver Tsunami, right? Like, that's, like, very real. I remember we were talking to one of our MANTEC board members when we were first talking about starting YMN, and she said, guys, like, this is real. Like, we have tons and tons of people retiring, and we don't have the leaders to fill the roles that they're leaving. We're having to develop as leaders so much quicker because there's simply not enough people to fill the roles. And so, like, that makes YMN, for me, exciting because I'm getting to watch young people connect, learn from one another at these events that we're having, and they're growing. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like, this is the whole point of YMN, is to, like, help young people grow, and we get to, like, watch it firsthand and see how it's, like, positively impacting young people in this industry. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's definitely awesome to see how fast it's kind of grown. You guys are doing an awesome job with that.
You're part of it, Todd. You're one of our marketing guys. So.
Yeah, well, it's been fun doing the marketing because it's cool to go. I'm not able to make it to every event, but when I come, it's awesome to just see how much it grows each time.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, the connection is what is, I think, the biggest thing for me is, and Abby mentioned it, the connection that we're seeing with between people. Yeah. So when I worked for a manufacturer, there was no really networking events that we could go to that, you know, there was people my age that I could actually have a real connection with. It was always somebody who, you know, would be a mentor, right? Which is going to be a big part of YMN, you know, to have that older piece, but it doesn't satisfy that need to have friendship and connection within your own age group, which is what YMN is really accomplishing.
Yeah, and the people who come to the events, like, I always meet new people coming, even though I'm on the marketing chair. I always meet new people there, and it's awesome to it's kind of like I don't know the word for it, but it's like low stress, I guess, or like there's not a lot of expectations. It's just like meeting young people doing similar stuff to what you're doing. So it's kind of been a great opportunity to be involved. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being part of it.
Of course. So what services do you guys have to offer? I know, like, the lunch and learns, everything, but what services?
Yeah, so you mean like within YMN, within MANTEC?
Within YMN.
Within YMN, yeah, absolutely. So kind of like high-level overview of who YMN is. So develop, mentor, support, and serve are our 4 pillars, right? So we're here to develop, mentor, and support the next generation while serving our community. And so when we look at develop, right, so that's lunch and learns, you mentioned. So we actually kind of switched them to breakfast. So there are wake up workshop series, but those are programs put on by a young manufacturer. So they're given an opportunity to kind of lead and teach as a young person, which we don't always have those opportunities. So just last month, I want to say, one of our young manufacturers gave a presentation on purpose in the workplace. He was really passionate about purpose and how we can all find our purposes. And so that's kind of more of a personal development piece, but it really impacts our professional development too, right? So wake up workshops, huge piece for us. We also do industry tours. So those are opportunities where a young manufacturer gets to invite other YMs to their property. They get to walk them through the facility. They get to lead them through, hey, this is who our company is and what we do. And then we also have an industry veteran. So those are kind of out of the YMN age range, but have a little bit more experience and wisdom to share. They get some time to share, hey, like, this is my story. These are where I struggled. These are where I grew. And just kind of give some of those pieces of advice and wisdom that we all kind of need as young people, which have been super impactful. Mentor, we are rolling out our mentorship program in this fall. It's going to be like a 4-ish month series where a young manufacturer is paired up with an industry veteran. And they go through like 3 or 4 different connection opportunities, and they're able to continue the mentorship if it works out for them at the end. But it's really just a way for them to get advice on, hey, if I want to end up in this career track, what do I need to do to get there? I think it's a really real conversation we all have to have is, hey, if I want to be here one day, it's not like I'm just going to 1, 2, 3 hop over there. There's different steps that need to be taken to improve myself to eventually make it to that role. And so that's kind of what we're going to see within this what we hope to see within the mentorship program, is to walk people through what that process looks like alongside an industry veteran who's been there before. And then the last one is our support piece. So this is just an opportunity for people to connect. We've talked a lot about the connection piece already. And so we have our manufacturing meetups. They're just like networking events, grab a couple beers, some snacks, and just really connect with other young people. I think those have been really, really impactful for folks. I remember like one of the first ones we did, we had one of our YMs was leaving, and he was talking to me, and he's like, hey, like, this was awesome. He was like, I'm an ops manager at this manufacturer, and I got to talk to another ops manager, and they just changed ERPs, and we just changed ERPs, and we were just talking about how hard that is. And I was like, that's like the whole point of YMN is to support each other, to know that like our struggles that we're facing are the same. Right. They might not be exactly the same, but they're similar, and so we can grow alongside each other. So that was just really special. That's one of our support pillar. And then our final one is our serve pillar. And so that's all about giving back to the community. So we've done events, volunteering at schools, volunteering at the Lancaster Science Factory, things like that. We also, upcoming, we're going to be at JA BizTown in York. So we're going to run a community for 5th and 6th grade students to learn about personal finance, how to have a job, like all those things. And so YMN is partnering with Women of Wolfgang from Wolfgang Confectioners, and we're going to put that event on for those kiddos. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, that's kind of like what is all encompassing within YMN. You also get discounts on like MANTEC trainings and other stuff like that. But
yeah, for sure. And it's only $100 for the whole year, and you get discounts to MANTEC. You get to go to everything that you guys hold for $100 a year. I think
events are free, which is like kind of a win in my opinion.
But if your company has a lot of young people working for them too, we do have organizational memberships as well. So if you have a lot of young people working for you, you get a nice discount on the memberships for those young people, and really give another benefit to your employees as well.
For sure. How, like, so say I'm a young person, can you be younger? Like, say I'm 19 turning 20. Is that kind of, I've never even asked you guys that question, but could they still join, or like, how could you join? What's the best way to join?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of a challenge that we're still trying to figure out. We are working on, so we mentioned the mentorship program, right? And so we're looking at those like, hey, I'm 18, 19, 20. Maybe I'm in college. Maybe I'm over at Thaddeus. Maybe I'm, finishing up trade school. And I want to be part of these programs, but I just don't know how. We're working on a trickle-down mentorship program. We're not rolling it out, right? So the industry veterans will be mentoring young professionals, right? That's just what we're doing. But then the young manufacturers, we still have a little bit of knowledge, I would hope, to pass on to those behind us. And so our vision, hopefully in 2026, would be to start a mentorship program for YMs to mentor those 18, 19, 20-year-olds, so that they have someone to go to when they start coming to events, right? Like just a familiar face as a mentor, but then also to have just a natural progression into the YMN network, so that it's not intimidating to start doing networking. It's not intimidating to start trying to go to an industry tour and like walk in and hope for the best, right? So yeah, we're trying to figure out what that natural progression is going to look like. But
yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's always great when you go to an event and know someone there,
right?
And if it's your mentor, they can kind of help you out and guide you through it. Dan has kind of been that for us. We're always at events with Dan, Mike, and Eileen, and they've really kind of shown us the way of. Because like Dan was telling you before, he's found us at our first event in the hallway, kind of hiding, nervous, but that's normal. We're all people.
Right.
But having that mentor and not kind of going in blind is awesome.
For sure. And I see that in Dan and the rest of the Sahd team. Like, I think that's one thing that you guys do just like such an amazing job of. And it was honestly why we wanted to recruit you. And the Sahd team was part of our first event, our focus group, because we saw the impact that they have on you guys as like young people. They want to develop you. They want to teach you. They want you to help. Like, they want to help you grow. And so I think, like, you guys do such a great job of developing young people. So kudos to the Sahd team for all the work they're doing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, they've, like, when we first came in, Dan would always say, be comfortable being uncomfortable. He kind of doesn't say it as much anymore, but it did help us out because we were kind of thrown into the fire a little bit on some things, which I think is what we really needed, because it's easy to get nervous and kind of not want to do things just because you don't want to. But now the things that, my biggest fear in life was talking in front of people. I always hated that, but once I started working here, it wasn't great at first, but it kind of it's gotten better through practice. But you need that practice, and you need those people to kind of push you sometimes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I actually use Sahd and Dan. It was push with you guys from a professional development perspective that I tell all of my clients, if you want to talk to somebody who has a really good program, of how to get your employees engaged and want to learn, go talk to Dan and Todd.
For sure. And I like telling young people about it specifically because at the end, we're a scrapyard in Columbia, 14 employees, and any company can do what we're doing. It just really, feel like has to start with the leadership. And
Absolutely.
because like, I would say Dan, he like that fuels him to see us like grow into, like when we first started, we sat down with Dan and literally wrote down like all of our goals in life. And that just helps so much because he knows kind of what we're fighting for in life or what we're striving for, and he can kind of push us towards that, which it's been great for us as young people. I never thought I'd be working like with my hands, definitely not in a scrapyard, but it's been the best kind of experience.
Yeah,
It's
it's awesome.
I love it.
For sure. Do you guys have any upcoming events? I know you mentioned the BizTown. What are some upcoming events? I'll have the link below. I'll have the link below to your guys' website.
Great.
So if you guys want to join, $100 a year, I definitely recommend.
Absolutely. Yes. No. But we definitely have some fun stuff coming up. So I mentioned BizTown. That's on the 24th of March coming up. We always try to have at least one manufacturing meetup a month. So that's like our networking events. We're going to be at Starview Brews. I'm trying to think of the local ones because we'll be in Starview Brews in Columbia in like, I think May or April. And then I know we're going to be in York this month. We're still nailing down our final location, but that's going to be somewhere mid-March. We're going to do our manufacturing meetup, and we're hoping to have a tour as well this month. So keep an eye out for that too. But yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some stuff. We roll things out on LinkedIn, on the website. You can find them anywhere. You can find YMN. There's going to be information there. So
Yep. LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook.
there you go. Our
Yep.
marketing guy knows.
We got it. We got it.
Yeah, MANTEC has a couple other free events too that are coming up. Yeah, so if you just check out the MANTEC, they're always revolving. They're always coming. There's a Bursting at the Seams roundtable that's coming up. There's an AI workshop, but that one unfortunately is full. But we're going to host another one because it was so popular at the end of April. So MANTEC, on top of YMN, we have a lot of free events that we welcome anybody in manufacturing to come to.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll have both of those event pages linked below, so
Great.
you guys can check them out.
Awesome.
For sure.
I had a question. Do you guys have any maybe personal goals or team goals for the YMN group specifically?
Yes, I have very hefty goals.
Abby, our fearless leader, has our goals for us.
Yes. So, I mean, personally, I want to see, I think we're very, very much on track to reach it, but I want to see us over 75 members by July of this year and at 150 by the end of this year. And my also personal goal is to have at least 5 organizational memberships secured by the end of this year as well, just because I think it's one thing to connect as an individual, but it's another thing to connect with other folks at your own company to learn and grow together.
Yep.
I think that's a whole other thing. So that's a really big goal for myself, is to make sure we are driving organizational memberships to see companies kind of take part in this all together. And personally, one of my personal goals is I would love one day to see YMN be like this like national network of young people changing and developing in the in the manufacturing industry as a whole. Like that's like a dream of mine. And we're actually like working on that within the Pennsylvania MEP network. I'm like we mentioned MANTEC's part of the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program. And so there's other MANTEC like organizations across our state. There's like 7 of us here in Pennsylvania. And so we're actually working alongside some of our sister centers in our different regions to have YMN chapters all across Pennsylvania, and then I think we can go nationwide, maybe even international. Who knows?
Hopefully.
That'd be cool. But yes,
That's awesome.
I'm excited. So
My goal is for sponsorship because I'm the treasurer of YMN, so I'm in charge of making sure that we have the funds to continue doing all of this fun stuff, and Abby gets her goals met. So we need sponsors. So if anybody out there wants to sponsor a really fun group of young folks and help us grow, please sponsor us.
subtle plug.
Subtle plug. Just
That's
very
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We just started kind of asking that in some of the podcasts because I think it's cool to we can go back on this in like a year or two, and I'm sure you guys are going to hit these goals. So it'll be awesome to kind of.
Fingers crossed.
Well, you're gonna help us.
Well, of course. But I feel like you guys do a lot of the. You guys do a lot of the muscle work, I would say. Like.
See, I think maybe a good way is like I feel like leaders are often strategically visioned, right? And then we build teams to help us do the tactical work. And I think like you guys are like personally, I think you guys are the muscle. You guys are making stuff happen. Like I mostly just say like, hey, we want to do this, and then you guys are like, well, what if we do this? What if we do this? What if we do this? I'm like, great, let's do it. Sounds like a plan. So personally, I think you guys are the muscle behind everything and making it work. We're just here to make sure it all comes together.
Which that's been a great part of being in the group as well, because you guys are very open to everyone's ideas. I feel like not a lot of people are like that. Like you don't shoot people's ideas down. You kind of take them in, and we've done some of the things that other people have brought up, which I think's great.
Yeah. Absolutely. Got to be open to everything. We're new. We don't know what we're doing, so.
For sure. Well, before our finale question, is there any other key things you guys would like to hit on the Young Manufacturers Network, MANTEC, anything?
I don't think so.
Well, the only thing, since we're going to be sharing this on our MANTEC podcast, could you give a little description about Sahd and your role with Sahd?
Yeah, so Sahd Metal Recycling, we're a third-generation family-owned scrapyard in Columbia. We have 14 to 15 employees. I would say over half of us are under 30, 35, so we're in that range for the young manufacturers. And we're pretty much we're the end and the beginning of the supply chain. Dan, I got it right. But pretty much what we do, we're 85% industrial, so we'll have dumpsters at manufacturers' facilities. They'll fill them up, and we offer 24-hour turnaround time. So say they call us this morning, we'll pick it up today. If not, they'll be our first stop in the morning. We bring it back here, dump it, we sort it out, pay them for what they had, we process it, and then we sell it so it can kind of make new material.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's what we're about. And I work in sales and marketing here, so I run all this fun stuff. And I also work in processing. When we first started, I was pretty much just torching, so they started us at the very bottom and kind of let us learn the business, which I really appreciate now, knowing kind of like the background stuff. But yeah, that's what we're about. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was kind of different. I never talked about us on here. So.
Well, no, I mean,
Hope that was good.
It was perfect, because I want, our listeners to be able to contact you guys if they have a metal recycling need, or if they have any questions about professional development growth.
For sure.
Call
Yeah,
Todd.
I appreciate that. Like I said, we're in Columbia. We work with about a 60-mile radius. We'll work farther if it makes sense. And we do the 24-hour turnaround and upfront formula pricing. So you'll always know you'll always have that same percentage of wherever the market's at that day. So you can because we play the markets as well. So we like to give our customers the ability to do that as well, the freedom to do that. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So for the finale question, it's kind of different because we're all younger here. It usually is, what advice do you wish you had when you were 21? But we're not too far from there. So what advice do you know now that you wish you kind of had starting off your career, if that makes sense?
That's a good question. I wish I had a lot of advice.
Yeah, I think something for me that I struggled with, especially being like a woman in a male-dominated field, I think it's okay to point that out. I think I struggled a lot with, I don't want to call it imposter syndrome, but just like heavy doubt. Like I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just a little girl. Like I can't do this. I just go in and I'm just pretend I know what I'm doing and I don't. And it's truthfully like, yeah, maybe that was the case for my first couple months, but I learned and I grew. And I think I needed something that I would have wanted to hear sooner was that I'm not just a little girl. I've been given this role for a reason. I know what I'm doing. I can stand firm on that and be confident in that, and help the people that are put in my path. And I think that's something that I was too scared to do early on. I feel like I can do it pretty confidently now, but it definitely was something that starting out, I wish I had more confidence when I was figuring out my career. So be confident. You can do this. Stand firm on your ground. You got this. So that's what I would have told myself.
Of course, that's awesome, and that's great for young people to hear too, because I'm sure you're not the only one who feels like that. So that's awesome to hear that. Thank you.
So I wish people would have told me about manufacturing first, though, that it was actually a really cool industry to go into. But kind of the biggest thing that I took away being in, because I'm 33 or 34 now, so I've been doing this for a while, but no one told me that sticking with an industry, the one singular industry, can produce so many more opportunities for you. If you're job hopping industry to industry, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's just, if you stick with one industry and you stick with the people that and they know you, they trust you, introduce you to more folks in that industry, and especially if you're kind of regionally based like we are, you can really, really grow fast, and you can kind of develop yourself in a different way than if you were jumping industry to industry. So, it's
For sure.
really, really cool thing that I've kind of discovered over the past few years for myself.
Good one.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. There will be a part 2 coming soon after we hit all of our goals. And Alex will be here next time. Like I said, I hope you feel better. But yeah, thank you guys again for coming on. I was looking forward to this, and I'm sure we'll have you on again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us, Todd.
Yeah,
Of course,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Make sure to check the links down below and check out MANTEC and YMN. Thank you guys for watching.